Greetings, Legionnaires! Today I did battle with a foe that doesn't know when to quit, in the form of the Mummy. The first outing in Universal's shared monster universe, more formally known as the Dark Universe, the Mummy attempts to establish the groundwork for the myriad of films that shall succeed it. The question remains, is it worth flocking out to see in theaters, or is it better left off dead and buried? As with all my tactical reports, I'll give a brief spoiler-free plot synopsis while discussing both the highlights and the shortcomings. The film focuses on Princess Amenet. The daughter of the pharaoh, Amenet was destined to ascend to the throne after her father's passing. However, her father ends up producing a male heir which would supersede Amenet's rise to power. To circumvent this, Amenet makes a deal with Set, the Egyptian god of death, to gain abilities and eliminate her family. Her betrayal is weeded out by the pharaoh's guard, and she is promptly mummified and locked far away from her homeland. Fast forward thousands of years to modern-day Iraq, where we meet Nick and Vale, two army soldiers and treasure hunters looking for their next big score. An ensuing struggle between them and the native people causes Amenet's tomb to be unearthed. From there, Nick inadvertently frees the evil princess, and chaos ensues. As always, let's begin with all the high points this movie has to offer. To begin, the action scenes throughout are pretty solid. There's a good mix of some practical effects that really make certain pulse-pounding sequences stand out. Alongside that, there's some genuinely creepy scenes and some memorable imagery that punctuate the moments that aren't spent running pell-mell towards the next objective. The sets featured are also excellent. You can really tell that Universal put a lot of money into kicking this franchise off, as they spared no expense in crafting some interesting backdrops. The last thing that stood out to me were two specific characters, Amenet and Dr. Jekyll. Although I wish she could have been fleshed out more, for lack of a better term, Amenet's story and presence were pretty well done. While her motives seemed to fluctuate somewhat, Sofia Botelli's performance could be ruthless when it called for it, or empathetic when it was necessary. Also, Russell Crowe's performance as Dr. Jekyll, and, minor spoiler warning here if you didn't see this coming already, Mr. Hyde was great. Honestly, his transformation was one of the cooler things in the film. We need more Eddie Hyde in the future. Now, on to the not-so-great aspects, which sadly were many. First off, Tom Cruise and Annabelle Wallis's characters were dreadfully boring and lacked much in the way of any development. But the worst had to be Jake Johnson. I was initially excited to see him here, but his dialogue and purpose in the film was grating at best. The film also has a terrible tone issue. For the most part, it seems like it wants to be a straight-up horror picture, but instead of focusing on that aspect, it mainly stays with the action/adventure style. This is probably done to appeal to a wider audience, but it ends up hindering the film drastically. Also, the comedy. I thought Pirates 5 was bad, but this takes it to a whole other level. I'm not sure why they chose the jokes they did, or why they even attempted to keep cramming them in, but it was truly painful. Overall, The Mummy is not great. While it has the budget behind it, some fun performances, and some scary imagery, it's little more than that. The so-called comedy, lack of tonal direction, and boring leads make it an adventure best forgotten to the sands of time. Agree with my review? Let me know in the comments below and share your thoughts on the picture. Looking for a deeper analysis of the movie? Then check out the Critical Podcast where we'll dissect the film even further. If you want to join our ranks today, feel free to like and subscribe to see more of our reviews. If you want to help support us further, consider sharing our work with a friend or throwing us a buck on patreon.com/criticalreviews. Thanks for dropping by regardless, and remember to adapt and overcome.